Hello, welcome to my videos and my blog. In this time, I'm going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers victory 17-10 against Baltimore Ravens tonight and the NFL 2023 season, the week 18. And with this victory, the Steelers finished the regular season with a record 7. And the Steelers are waiting for tomorrow games to see if the Steelers will qualify or not to the playoffs of this year. So about this game, the Steelers did their job, where they needed to win, and the other is to get some combination, how I told you a few seconds ago. But was a typical game between the Steelers and Ravens, where this is a very physical, talk, ugly, and close game, where always there is just few points, and the Steelers could get this victory, of course, because the Baltimore Ravens were qualified. They won the North Division, the AFC North, and they clinched the number one set in the AFC. So they played with some bench players, but in the end, the Steelers did their job, and in this moment they are qualified to the playoffs. So about this game, it wasn't a very great game. It was an ugly game, but the Steelers did enough to win the game. This game was very well because the game was dominated by both defenses, where the Steelers were a little better team than the Baltimore Ravens, and didn't make any mistakes. The Steelers, the only mistake was that the Steelers had two fumbles, one by Warren and the other by Rudolph. But these two fumbles were in the Baltimore Ravens zone and didn't affect the Steelers in the score. But the Steelers missed two minimum 6 points that they have in the back. But in the end, the Steelers won the game in the first quarter. The Steelers scored a touchdown when Naeem Harris scored a touchdown, and the Steelers were leading the game 7-0 in the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Baltimore Ravens did their job, and they scored a touchdown in the halftime. The game was tied 7-7 in the third quarter. No team scored any touchdown, but in the fourth quarter is when was the difference, where the Steelers scored a touchdown where Mason Rudolph connect with the auntie Johnson, that scored a 79 touchdown, and this was enough to win the game. In the end, the Steelers scored a field goal, and in the last second, the Baltimore Ravens scored a field goal that wasn't enough, and the Steelers won the game 17-10. With this score, remember that the Steelers defeated the Baltimore Ravens for the same score in the week 5. And with this victory, the Steelers sweep the series with the Baltimore Ravens. And the general statistics, the Steelers, how I told you, it wasn't a very great game, because you can see both teams didn't make more than 300 yards. The Steelers made 289 total yards, by 134 by pass, but the most important is that they ran for more than 100 yards, and it was the big difference. And the Steelers in the defense, they play a tremendous defense, where they just allow 224 total yards, less than 250, 180 by pass, and 106 by run. And the big difference here, what you can see, is that the Steelers had two fumbles, but these two fumbles didn't reflect in the score, because the Baltimore Ravens couldn't take advantage of this, and the Baltimore Ravens had two fumbles, too. And in the individual statistics, how I told you, Mason Rudolph didn't have a very great game, but the most important is that he didn't make any mistake. He just threw for 152 yards, but he scored one touchdown. That was very great. And and another great is he didn't make any mistake. He didn't throw any interception. And in the running game, it was here amazing. Najee Harris that had an amazing game with 112 yards and one touchdown. And in the wide receiver, it wasn't a very great game for them, but you can see here that the Auntie Johnson had 4 receptions for 89 yards and one touchdown. But in one reception, he made 79 yards in the touchdown. And in the defense, TJ Watt had a very great game. He made 2 sacks and he got 19 sacks in the year. I think that he made a record because this is the most sacks in a season for a player. But the bad news is that TJ Watt got injured and he left the game in the end of the third quarter. Mark Robin made another sack. Marcus Golden another sack. So the Lakers in total had 4 sacks, and Chris Baldwin just had 1 field goal. Was the game that closed the game. He scored by 25 yards, and the Steelers won the game. So what happened in this season? How I told you, the Steelers finished the season with a record 11, but 10-7. It wasn't a very great season because I expected a little more than the Steelers. I thought that the Steelers were going to qualify to the playoffs. In this moment, they are qualified, but I don't see that. I don't think that they're going to qualify to the playoffs because remember that they need to several combinations. The first is that the Steelers need today in this moment is playing the Colts against Texas. They started in the last quarter, but in this moment they are tied in the game 14-14. So see if the Steelers want to qualify, they need 3 options. That today this game stay in a tie. That this game finish in a tie, or if not, tomorrow that the Jaguars lost against the Titans, or that Bills lost against the Dolphins. So any of these 3 scores or any of these 3 scenarios happen, the Steelers will qualify to the playoffs. You can see here that the Steelers are in this moment in the playoffs, but because they play and they have one more game than the other teams. So who I told you, the Steelers finished with a record at 10-7. You can see here that they lost when they start losing against the 49ers. Later they defeat the Browns. Later they defeat the Raiders. They lost and were humiliated by the Texans. Later they defeat the Ravens for first time in the season. Later they traveled to LA and the West Coast and they defeated the Rams. Later they were humiliated by the Jaguars. And later they defeat the Titans, and this loss against the Jaguars, it was very important because if the Steelers would have won that game, the Steelers will be in this moment in the playoffs qualify. Later they they received the Packers and they won this game. But later they traveled to the Browns and they lost that game. And in this game, this is when the Kenny Pickett got injured and Trubisky entered to play. Later, the Steelers traveled to Cincinnati and won that game against the Bengals. But I think that the difference here was the 2 games that the Steelers play against the 2 of the worst team in the league, against the Cardinals and the Patriots, where it's supposed that the Steelers were favorites in both of these games, but they lost these 2 games. But the difference here was that my Trubisky was the starting quarterback. No, sorry. In this game, the Bengals, Kenny Pickett was still playing, but when the Kenny Pickett got injured in the game against the Cardinals, and Kenny Pickett and Mike Trubisky played the 3 games that they lost against the Cardinals, the Patriots, and the Colts. But the big difference here was that these 2 losses, because it's supposed that these two games were a victory, but there weren't. For the reason, Steelers, the most probably is they are going to be eliminated. And the games against the Colts, if the Steelers would have won like the game against the Jaguars, the Steelers in this moment will be in playoffs. And later, the 3 consecutive wins where the Mason Rudolph was the starting quarterback. So in this moment, how I told you, Steelers are in playoffs, but they need this through minimum one of the 3 scores. So let's see what happens. So here's one my opinion about what happened tonight, where the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated 70-10 the Baltimore Ravens. With this victory, the Steelers finished the season with a record 10-7. The Steelers finished in the 3rd place in the AFC North Division, and in this moment, they are recording this this video, the Steelers are in the playoffs with the number 7 set, but they need that one of these three scenarios happen. That in the game that is playing in this moment, the Colts against the Texans finish in a tie, or the tomorrow the Jaguars lost against the Titans, or the tomorrow the Bills lost against the Dolphins. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about more about this on the next Monday. See you next video. Gibran.